first pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select
Trophy Chase, Arizona.
with the second pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select
Cody Smith, Houston, Texas. The fantasy draft room is now on the clock.
Welcome to the fantasy draft room. I am Chase, and with me as always, my man Cody. We got another rookie mock going on here.
Yes, we got one. This one isn't fully finished, but we do have our picks finished, so we figured it was good enough to bring to y'all at this point. It's one out of our destination Devi for patreon.com/all gas. If you want to get into these mocks, drop them in the comments below. We can direct you there or go join over on that Patreon. Dynasty Barry is the guy who runs all of these, does great work with all of our ADP data. Glad to get back into another one of these today. Fortunately, didn't wrap up today, but I think it's good enough to go. We only got 3 picks left, and they're fourth rounders anyway. These are waiver wire guys for most people.
Yeah, if you're worried about the 410 through 412, I apologize. It's truly unfortunate. Yeah, and if your team is really reliant on those 3 picks as well at this point in the process, you're probably hurting in other areas. So let's kick things off here. Bijan Robinson 101. Then we do have 3 quarterbacks with CJ Stroud, A-Rich as the second one off the board, and Bryce Young. We've talked about these quarterbacks quite a bit. There seems to be some smoke around A-Rich getting first-round draft capital. Feel good as the second quarterback off the board?
If he gets the first-round draft capital, I'm perfectly okay with it. Obviously, he's going to have a lot of detractors. He doesn't have a good completion percentage, as everybody's going to tell you time and time again. But what do we like with our fantasy football quarterbacks? We like guys who can run. And Anthony Richardson is an elite rusher. And I think that he can easily develop a little bit more as a passer. And he can make some damn good throws as well. I think there's just a little bit of consistency issues with him. Maybe a little bit of toesy in the pocket sometimes. But A-Rich, at this point, I can't have him personally there. But if you're going to say that he gets that top 15, top 16 capital, like a lot of people are starting to think he will, I'm not there yet. I've still seen a lot of him in the second. But if you think it's going to happen and have the conviction, I can't fault you for having A-Rich at the 1-3.
Yep, I'm fine with it at this point because if he does get that kind of draft capital, you'll want him on your fantasy team. He's going to have value. All it's going to take is a Justin Fields-esque run before people just lose their mind. So I'm good with that. We have JSN as the first wide receiver off the board at the 105. And then Jahmyr Gibbs at the 106 with Will Levis at the 107. JSN, we just dropped our top 5 rookie rankings or rookie wide receivers for the 2023 class. Both of us felt pretty good, kind of 1A, 1B right now with JSN and Addison. So I have 0 issue. Do you have a problem with him going before a quarterback or before Gibbs?
I'm still in the camp. I'm going to sit there until we get proven otherwise. I'm in the camp that I would take all 4 quarterbacks at the 1-2 through 1-5. It's just we play Superflex as a Superflex draft, and I'm going to take the quarterbacks regardless of what the public perception is of Will Levis. I know a lot of people just absolutely despise the man, but if he can slide into my Superflex whenever he's on the field and starting for a team, there's possibilities that he could go at the 101. I don't care what all those haters say. I think they'll eventually come around.
I think that's the wild thing. Like, the fact of the matter is, like, he's being talked about as the 101, like in the NFL draft. So if he does get that kind of capital and that kind of belief, you better take him you can take him as the 5th pick, but 4th quarterback off the board. But I would have a tough time taking JSN or Gibbs over him at this point. So Addison, Charbonnet, QJ, A-Chain, and Hyatt round out the back half of the first round. Addison's pretty typical second wide receiver off the board. You took Charbonnet over QJ. There's a lot of people that don't really believe in Charbonnet, which is kind of interesting from what we've seen. Why did you take him here at the 109?
You know, you say that, but I've actually seen a lot of people recently putting Zach Charbonnet as their RB3 in the class. I'm a
Good.
little bit more bold than that. I actually have him as my RB2. I have him over Gibbs. Would I take him over Gibbs at this point of the process? No, because the community does value Gibbs at such a higher point. But if I'm just going strictly off the guy that I'd rather have Zach Charbonnet. And I can't pass that up here at the 1-9. I've got major questions and concerns with Quentin Johnston, even though he is probably going to be a first round draft pick to a wide receiver needy team, has the alpha build, but I have concerns with his consistency and his production in college at TCU, not helmet scouting, but we've seen some concerns coming out of that school as well, translating to the league. So I'm perfectly fine here at the 1-9, taking my RB2 and Zach Charbonnet.
Yep, I don't blame you either. He's my 3 right now. But yeah, he seems to profile pretty well as a 3-down, back in the NFL. And if he does get that second round draft capital, I'm all in. Devon Achane is another one here that people might find as a little bit of a spicy take, just because of his weight concerns, and it's true. That he's going to come in 180, 190, maybe 185. Like, he's going to be in that range. If he comes in over that, I'm going to be shocked, and I'll be all in, to be honest with you. But I do like Devon Achane, man. Like, he's electric. And if he can just hit a home run on any play, like, that's a dude that's hard to pass on in fantasy.
He is. And I mean, obviously, I've got the flag over my shoulder yet again, but Devon Achane, I actually don't have him as high as a lot of other people do. I think he came in at my RB4, RB5, and there's some people who've started to put him up at their RB3. And that's going to shock a lot of people that's even in consideration, because a lot of people do look at that size concern. They say there's no way that this guy's going to translate to the league. I think that's a little bit early of a conclusion, because we haven't seen him officially weigh in yet. We'll know what more once the combine gets here. I don't have as much concerns about what size he is going into the league, because he played against SEC competition. He was a workhorse in college at Texas A&M this year. What I have more of a concern of is, what is the NFL going to look at him and say, what is his usage? If they're going to try to give him 7 touches and 7 receptions, what's that going to actually turn into for fantasy production? Well, I have him a little bit lower in my personal rankings. I would still have Gibbs over Achane, and then some other guys mixed in there. But I still love the talent of Devon Achane. He's probably the most explosive guy. He's got that Olympic track athlete speed, and he acted as a bruiser. We'll see what the NFL says about him, but I don't think they're going to have too many concerns like a lot of other people do have right now.
Yeah, I've seen the range of outcomes. There was a good comp today by Scott Connor, saying that realistically there's a chance he could be Kenny Gainwell, maybe a little bit better version of Kenny Gainwell, where he's not necessarily a first down back, but he'll get in on some second and third down type opportunities. So that could be a role for him in the NFL. Landing spot's gonna be really key, and I think we've talked about that quite a bit with Achane. So 112, we mentioned Jalen Hyatt. I just don't. We saw a mock with him going 12 overall,
the first wide receiver off the board, and I think at 12 overall.
It seems insane to me. I feel like he's just a straight line kind of burner guy, and I don't know how that's going to translate. I mean, it should translate to the NFL, but does that just make him just a deep threat? And what kind of opportunity does he get with that kind of role? So I'm not too excited about him in general, but
it's hard to say that you're not excited at all about the Blitikoff winner of the, but he is a guy that only produced this year. He did seem to kind of be just that straight line burner. Obviously can do more than that, but that is his specialty. We'll see what role and what he becomes in the NFL, but he is one of the guys that has some first round buzz. He's probably the lowest of my first round buzz guys.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like that's the best way to put it. So second round here, let's kick things off here. We have tight end 1 off the board with Luke Musgrave, and then Kendre Miller, Zay Flowers. I'm just going to go through 6 of them here. Josh Downs, and then I ended up with Michael Mayer. So we have the 2 tight ends here. Luke Musgrave, tight end 1. Seems like he's a freak athlete. Do you think he should be the tight end 1 in this class for fantasy purposes?
I mean, coming from a guy who a couple weeks ago, I legitimately didn't even know his name. I think I've said that on one of our shows. I think I called him by the wrong name, actually, on one of our shows here a couple weeks ago. And he has gotten to the point over the last couple of weeks that, I don't know all these college guys as well. I'm more of an NFL guy. And he barely played in college as well. Didn't have much production to show for it. But man, whenever you just look at the athletic profile, 6'5", 255, can run a sub 4.5. And he was just towering at the Senior Bowl, just looked like a wide receiver, apparently, from a lot of reports at the Senior Bowl. Luke Musgrave is a guy that we have started to be seeing mocked in the first round of the NFL draft as well. And I still have Mayer, but Musgrave is becoming a close second for me. I think it could come down to actually what landing spot these guys go in if they are both first-round draft picks.
Yeah, and I feel like with tight end, landing spot matters quite a bit because it's going to be how the coaches like to use that position. Michael Mayer, he can do it all. He's going to be another big guy, 265. He's not going to be he's not going to be the athlete that Musgrave is, but he's produced at a high level in college. And I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything when it comes to fantasy points in the NFL, but it seems like he should get the opportunity to get on the field early. If Musgrave can end up in a Jacksonville where they love using tight ends with Doug Peterson, that would be a tough situation for me to be like, yeah, give me Mayer over him. Like I would love Luke Musgrave in that situation, taking over the Evan Ingram role if they don't decide to re-sign him. So there's definitely some other landing spots that do stand out, and I could see this type of situation happening. But right now, I'm with you. I still have Michael Mayer at this point in the process. I have no reason to take Musgrave over him just because of so much unknown with these two.
Yeah, it's just hard to deny the production that Michael Mayer has put up in the last 3 years in that Notre Dame offense compared to like Musgrave has 25, I think, catches in college. Obviously, he's got a little bit better. He's probably going to test a little bit better with RAS score and everything like that, more athletic. But I'm going to take the production that I know and that I think will translate better in Michael Mayer at this point. But man, from 3 weeks ago to now, Musgrave to even be in this contention for me it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and then we've talked a lot about Kendre. He's going to be running back 5 off of the board here. We do have 4 wide receivers here in the next few picks with Zay Flowers, Josh Downs, Rashee Rice coming off the board after Mayer. We have Kenny McIntosh and then Kayshon Boutte. So these 4 wide receivers kind of rounding out the 5 through 8 numbers off the board. Boutte is an entire, exciting name. Rashee Rice was a big one, but it sounds like he didn't do too great at the Senior Bowl. He didn't stand out necessarily like people thought that he would. Maybe a little bit of a knock for him, and it sounds like he may not get the draft capital that we want to see, like him getting a second round draft pick. So I'm okay with Zay Flowers and Josh Downs being up here. Where are you at with this group of wide receivers in this kind of range?
Yeah, I think you can lump Hyatt in with all of these guys as well. These are kind of the guys that I was talking about, that they're the first round buzzworthy guys, the ones that could go in there. I personally think it's going to be Josh Downs and Zay Flowers, and then maybe one of the other guys. Kayshon, we just haven't seen mocked in that area, not at all. He's going to be a guy that Debbie Darlings love. He's a Debbie Darling, and he just didn't produce last year. Could he be the next Jamar Chase? He's the wide receiver at LSU that just didn't produce his senior year and then comes in. I don't personally see that, but there was a lot of people hyping him up as the wide receiver 1 coming into last year in his senior year. So a fall from grace here, really, to be even, if you were telling people last year that he was going to go at the 2.8 in the rookie mock in a year, probably wouldn't have believed you. But I actually have him probably about in this range. Him and Rice, I probably go back and forth on at this point. Would have loved to have seen a little bit more out of Rice and a little bit more news out of the Senior Bowl for Rashee Rice. We'll see where it goes. It's early in the process. Maybe he has a baller pro day and then tests well at the NFL Combine. So there's still a lot of time with these guys. Play it by ear, but this is a range that's going to be very fluid in a lot of drafts, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I do like Boutte a little bit. He measures well. We'll see what happens over the coming months with his combine and then pro day. He's got a lot of questions to answer. Draft capital is going to matter for him. Risk reward in the back half of the second, like the massive risk, but there could be the upside. We'll see. When you did watch LSU games, Malik Neighbors did look better than Boutte throughout the year. Lots of things could go into play with that, but hey, Malik Neighbors is a damn good wide receiver as well. So we'll see. I feel like this is right where he belongs, and we do have these other running backs here that we're going to touch on now. So we had Kenny McIntosh taken here at the 2-7, and then we had at the 9 through the 3-4, Sean Tucker, Zach Evans, Tank Bigsby, Tajay Spears,
Abanikanda.
Abanikanda, Deuce Vaughn, Roshan Johnson, and Chase Brown. So Kenny McIntosh taking a big Senior Bowl jump here. Seems like he performed pretty well. What are you hearing about this? How do you feel about Kenny McIntosh being RB6 in this class potentially?
Man, it's a massive jump for me. And obviously, Ray was at the Senior Bowl. He saw this guy firsthand, said he looked absolutely dynamic out there. Was a big guy, had the body, had the physique. He's obviously great out of the backfield. And so he impressed him to the point where he's comfortable taking here the middle of the second round. We have seen Kenny McIntosh, I think, even sneak up into the second round of a NFL mock draft. I think I've seen at one point. So I'm personally not there yet. I still have more. I've only seen from the games that I've watched of like Jahmyr Gibbs and the plays that Kenny McIntosh has been in on. So it's still a guy that I have to watch. I'm not a fan of like the only pass catching wide or running backs, just because like, what are they comp to? Are you fine rolling out a JD McKissick for a long while? Like he can get in, he can do some stuff. We'll see with Kenny McIntosh. I might be rising on him. I want to do some more scouting on him. But to take him here at the 2-7 is a little bit aggressive for me, but I could see it by the end of the process.
Yeah, he's definitely one that's going to be a potential riser. We'll see with draft capital and things like that. I still feel like it's going to be very James Cook-esque in a sense where you're talking about a guy that maybe he gets second round draft capital, ends up in a good spot, and ends up in Kansas City. Name a team that would love a pass catching running back, right? And be a 1B. I just don't know if that excites me for fantasy. Maybe I should be more excited, and I'm sure as the process goes on, it'll change. At this point in time, I'd be, I don't know. It just feels like one of those guys I'm okay missing on. I don't feel like it's going to be someone I'm like, man, I can't believe I didn't take Kenny McIntosh. I had the chance so many times, and I just kept passing. Dang it.
But we do see this group of 9 running backs and 10 picks. This is going to be such a fluid part of the draft. I know a lot of people are going to look at guys like Bigsby, Evans, and Tucker, probably want to have them up a little bit higher in this draft, maybe even in the first round. We're not there yet, but a lot of these guys I think are going to be very interchangeable. What's the draft capital? How do they test in the combine? We'll see a lot of movement in this area going forward throughout our mocks.
Yeah, there's really no one I want to jump into too much. Like you said, Zach Evans, they're guys. People are really high on Sean Tucker and Zach Evans, and I feel like that's just priors with years past, and whether they're former 5 stars or Sean Tucker based on his sophomore season. And yeah, I love Sean Tucker coming into the year, but it's hard to deny what I saw. I do have hope for him still. Tajay Spears was a big riser at the Senior Bowl. I did want to kind of point him out. I mean, he sounds like he just popped, and he really separated himself of the group of running backs there.
Yeah, if you're into the Dynasty fantasy landscape at all, you have been bombarded with Tajay Spears hype over the last week. It has been nonstop, everything from that nasty whip route that he put on that defender, where obviously he is playing in a much more advantaged position in that drill. But I mean, he absolutely cooked that guy. Everything from that to making cuts that were just making people say wow, and everybody just stopping what they were doing at the Senior Bowl. Everybody is catching on to what we saw a little bit ago with Tajay Spears, the home run ability. A lot of people have compared him to Devon Achane, but he also weighed in at, what was it, 5'10", 204. So he weighed in with the size that we still have concerns about with Devon Achane. So I could see him being a lot higher than this 212 actually.
Yeah, same. He could be a big time riser. Talk about second round draft capital for him, which would be huge. And he was a guy that we talked about prior, I think, where we thought he was 190. Like usually you get like a 5 pound, maybe 10 pound, like almost 15 pound jump. That's exciting. Yeah, I'm definitely excited for him. I like Izzy as well. Chase Brown, just to kind of touch on him, he apparently hurt his stock quite a bit at the Senior Bowl as well. Fumbling, having some issues. He looked physically good, but it didn't seem like he performed on the field the way they wanted him to.
Yeah, interestingly though, by the linebackers, they actually gave him the player of the week at the Senior Bowl, even though everybody else's reports said he had a bad Senior Bowl. I don't know. Maybe that's just because they're going up against each other in like team drills, and maybe he didn't fumble in team drills. I don't know what that was, but it surprised me whenever I came out and saw that because, yeah, I heard the same thing that Chase Brown didn't have a good Senior Bowl, and then he wins Player of the Week at the Senior Bowl. It's early in the process. Don't take it into account too much either way.
Yeah, and then the other one that was there was Roshan Johnson. I believe he had he broke his pinky day one, was it?
Yep, day 1 or 2 early on.
Yeah, so he broke it early on, but from everything that we're hearing, physically looks good. But when you see him in the drills, he doesn't look like he stands out from anybody else, at least in the time that he was there. So we'll kind of see. He was a one that potentially could have been a riser with with his opportunity. So time will tell with him as well. So next few picks here, Tillman, Tank Dell. We have Marvin Mims and then Xavier Hutchinson and then your boy Hendon Hooker.
I'm back in.
I'm back in. Tillman falling here. I say falling here, but yeah, it sounds like he's going to be a 3rd round wide receiver in the NFL draft, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's nothing that you're
excited for fantasy, man. Like it's just,
yeah.
Being a wide receiver 3 for a team.
Yeah, exactly. Are you excited about Tank Dell?
Man, Tank Dell got all the hype. Like how Tajay Spears got the hype at the running back position, Tank Dell got that hype at the wide receiver position. A small guy. A lot of people labeled him as the burner coming out of SMU, lit up SMU, I believe. I think I have that one right. But he absolutely tore up the Senior Bowl. Obviously, Ray was there again. He gets another one of his Senior Bowl standouts. And with Tank Dell, I'm not going to buy into it yet. There's a lot of hype around him possibly being a 2nd round pick in the NFL draft, or at least a day 2 pick. I just don't buy into that size and comp style. I don't know. It's not for me. We'll see, but I need to see more out of Tank Dell before I really buy in.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. He's 5'10", 165, I believe. He was 5'8". So the Senior Bowl weigh-in, he was 5'8", 163. And that's just a hard one for me to get on board with, man. I know BMI isn't everything. I watched the Houston SMU game and like he definitely stood out when I watched that game. I was just like, holy cow, like he definitely popped. And it seemed like, DBs at the Senior Bowl mentioned that he's really hard to get hands on. It was one of those things where no one wanted to go one-on-one with him, which again, wide receivers kind of have that advantage, especially when you're fast and you're a quick twitch. But I don't know. Well, if he gets 2nd round draft capital, back in the second, is he Tutu Atwell? Like, is that what he's going to be? Like, I feel like it for a guy his size, like it matters where he goes, like, and how a team's going to use him.
Yeah, and I know I think I said he was a burner. He can obviously, from what we saw at the Senior Bowl, he can obviously run routes. If the quarterbacks are saying, hey, like I don't really want to guard this guy, I don't really want to go against this guy, he can run routes as well. The NFL is trending smaller, but I don't know if it's trending down to the size that I was in high school. So a little bit yet for me.
Yeah, I feel like the interesting thing is some of the people that have watched Tank Dell, like they don't feel like he's just exclusively that burner, right? Like that's like the big separation. He's not Tavon Austin. He's not going to be one of these guys that just goes out and just runs downfield. He has the ability to do other things, and so that may open doors for him. But again, you're talking about the NFL. You're talking about some big dudes flying at you, and I would take him in best ball. And if I'm getting him in the 3rd round over Marvin Mims, I think I'm okay with that. Over Cedric Tillman, I think I'm okay with that too. I feel like he's a guy I'm willing to take the chance on late, but I do like Xavier Hutchinson. So he measured in well. He looked physically good. So I don't know. And your boy Hendon Hooker, where are you at with him now?
So, I mean, we've seen stuff coming out that he's saying he's going to be 100% by training camp. And if that's the case, I'm back in on Hendon Hooker, especially in like the 3rd. If he's going to be a 2nd round draft pick, which is pretty much what we've seen, I mean, at one point, a lot of people had him as their quarterback 3 in the class. I know a lot of people still have him as the quarterback 3 in the class, even with a torn ACL. So to be able to get Hendon Hooker here at the 3-9, I'll take the shot at a super flex quarterback who I think will eventually get a shot in the NFL, whether that's day one. He's saying he's ready for training camp. I just watched an interview with him on at Media Row at the Super Bowl with the Pat McAfee show, and he was saying that he was going to be ready then. He looked good. He was walking around perfectly fine, dabbing up the guys, even threw a football back and forth with one of the guys a little bit. And apparently he's just got some absolutely massive mitts as well. I forget exactly what he measured in at his hand size, but it was like something crazy, like 10 3/4 inches or something like that. So just an absolutely massive hands dude. He wasn't a kind of a system offense there in Tennessee. So that's what a lot of people will say is his downfall. Can he process at the next level? That's to be seen. But a guy who can run, we'll see if he does it coming off of the ACL. But perfectly fine with taking a shot on Hendon Hooker if all of the medicals do still start to come out in a positive fashion.
Yeah, and if he lands in a spot where he could, compete for a starting job with whether it's an aging vet, or just an iffy situation in general, yeah, give me a shot on him in the late third, fourth, depending on where he goes. Zero issue with it. The upside is there, right? So, a better gamble than Dwayne McBride, Eric Gray, Evan Hull, Chris Rodriguez. Like, yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there. So that is kind of looking into the next few picks here. We have Dalton Kincaid at the turn there with the other running backs that I just mentioned, Raheem Jarrett. And then after Rodriguez, we have Tyler Scott, Puka Nakua, Parker Washington, Darnell Washington, Mo Ibrahim, Jaden Reed. And then we have 3 picks there that are TBD, which is probably going to end up being pick a Dontavian Wicks, Stetson Bennett, and name whoever else. So
Max Duggan.
Max Duggan, perfect. We just rounded out the draft. Eric took Max Duggan. He's gonna love that. So like that's kind of where we're at right now. It's all going to be a toss up. We're going to have to see where these guys land. This 4th round, 3rd round is going to shift. I think the big takeaway for me as I look at the draft is like you got about 2 rounds where you feel pretty good, right? Like you feel pretty good going through the first 2 rounds where you can get a fantasy contributor on your roster.
Yeah, I think it's going to. I like more about the 2.5. Even I can say 3 rounds, but by the time that we get draft capital, a lot of these guys are probably going to fall out. A lot of these guys were saying, "Oh, I could see him getting 3rd round capital, 4th round capital,"
True.
And then they're going to end up as a 6th round running back, and we don't have them anywhere near the spot where we do anymore.
Yeah,
which guys those are? That's yet to be seen. But at this point, I'm still comfortable with the 3 rounds. But just don't go into it thinking, "Oh yeah, if I could just have a shot at." Dwayne McBride at the 310, I'll just trade, I'll trade out of the 2nd round and just go to a 3rd round pick and be perfectly fine. Because by the time we get to that spot, it's probably not going to look as good as it does right now to a lot of people whenever we're just scouting the film, scouting the numbers. We have a long way to go and a lot of information yet left to gain. The one that I would like to highlight here, if I can speak, would be Darnell Washington, because I know watching a lot of other mocks from around the industry, there is a lot of hype for Darnell Washington because he is an athletic monster. The size is it's just monstrous what Darnell Washington is at the tight end position. Can you kind of talk to why we have him here in the 4th within our own community?
Mercedes Lewis,
not our
Mercedes Lewis. That's why. 6'7", 6'8", monster, really good at blocking, and that is why. Is because he's going to be a 6th offensive lineman. So he's going to be on the field, which is great. And hey, if you're on the field as a tight end, that's what you want. But he's going to be used primarily as a blocker. There's just nothing about him that gets me excited when it comes to fantasy production. Like Brock Bowers was clearly the guy in Georgia. Darnell Washington's going to get opportunities. He's going to be a good red zone threat. And you know what? You take a dart on tight ends in the 4th. I have zero problem with it. But there's nothing that gets me personally excited. And, when you see the film, there's just nothing that stands out where you're like, that's going to be a pass catcher at the next level. I mean, what do you see with Darnell?
It's basically exactly what you said. Obviously, he has the upside. I think what a lot of people are seeing is that, hey, I've got a 6'7" guy. Let me just run him into the back of the end zone. We're going to play a little bit of basketball, just lob up a pass, and he's going to catch 10 touchdowns a year.
Yep.
Does that possibility exist? Yes, but it's going to take a very specialized offensive scheme and a head coach that's willing to do that with him and plug him in like that. And from what we've heard, that's just not really the case or what it's looking like right now. We'll see if it comes to fruition, though. I mean, there is a chance where he could be, like a Mo Alley Cox with upside. Like, is that what we're trying to get here? It's just going to depend a lot about how the NFL uses him, and we're more on the negative side than I think a lot of the dynasty community is right now.
Yeah, in tight end premium leagues, he's going to get drafted. I have no problem taking him here in the 4th round. I did think about it. I look at his name every single time I'm in the 4th round. I'm like, he's going to be a 1st round tight end, right? Or a 2nd round tight end. He's going to get draft capital.
He's a 2nd round pick in a lot of other mocks.
That's so it's like, if he's a 2nd rounder, I mean,
no, a lot of rookie mocks.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to highlight this one. Like, he is a 2nd round pick in a lot of other dynasty rookie mocks.
Is this real life?
Like that's the outcome that a lot of people are seeing, is that, like, hey, he's going to catch 10 touchdowns and actually go out and run routes. It's just not what we've been hearing.
Yeah. Do not take him in the 2nd round, please, unless you are in like a 3.0 tight end premium, tight end touchdown premium, something like that. There's not a reason, at least right now, that I'm putting Darnell in that spot. So yeah. Anything else you want to touch on in this mock? You just blew my mind.
As we leave Chase here in shock to close us out of this mock. Just want to give another shout out to Dynasty Barry and the Patreon and the Discord over there at Destination Devi, patreon.com/allgas to get in these mocks. We are running these. I think this is probably like our 2nd one this week, and we probably have another one that's going to start up tomorrow after this one closes. So we're cranking these out all the time. Devi mocks as well. We'll be doing our own startup mocks if you want to get into those. Yeah, so get down in the comments, like, subscribe, do all those things. Tell us about tell us why Darnell Washington is a 2nd round rookie draft pick in dynasty leagues. Blow Chase's mind on the other side of things. We'll see if you can convince Chase on why Darnell Washington should be up there.
Yeah, let us know who we're too high on, who we're too low on, and definitely shock me. But I appreciate everyone joining. Please like, please subscribe again. Patreon.com/allgas. Huge shout out to the Destination Devi community. And again, anything you want to say before we wrap out?
Get us on up.
Outstanding. Like, subscribe, and thank you for joining us here in the Fantasy Draft Room.